Welcome to Awaken Sovereignty, a solo cast on ascension, shadow work, empowerment, and alignment with your highest purpose. I'm Chris Pinckley, spiritual coach and guide for those moving through deep awakening, transformation, and personal evolution. Let's begin. In this episode, I'm going to discuss what is a codependent relationship, and more importantly, how does that hold you back? Well, this is kind of as many subjects that I like to go into happen to be. This one is also convoluted. It's complex. And it's not meant to be an all or nothing statement about codependent relationships, because often you can have what may start as a codependent relationship and evolve into a more authentic relationship. At the basis of codependency is enablement. And the framework is often, I'll play this role for you if you play this role for me. Another way of looking at it is, I'm going to make you responsible for how I feel, and you're going to be responsible, and I'm going to be responsible for how you feel. Right? And so a couple people could start off sort of supporting each other in a relationship. Maybe it's a traditional, boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife, and they're supporting each other in their relationship, goals, dreams, hopes, and it starts to become more of a co-creation. At the healthiest, highest sense, it becomes a co-creation. Even if the goals and the career paths are different or separate, it still becomes a co-creation because the overarching goal is harmony, harmonious lifestyle, maybe a family, or ultimately, retirement or investment portfolio, or all of the above. It can start off all in the positive, but if one or both members, and it's generally not just one person, it's both, are unhealed in some sort of a way, then eventually there is a projection of unmet, unwanted needs upon each other. And where this starts to go south is when it sort of becomes this understood semi-conscious or subconscious role play, where if you don't do this, I'm uncomfortable, or if you do that, I'm uncomfortable. In turn, I won't do this, and I will do that. And starts being a bit of a tit for tat, kind of it becomes more and more like a role play, where you're willing to not do certain things and do other things in order to make this person comfortable. And in turn, that person will not do certain things and do other things to make you comfortable. And ultimately, this is the unhealed child, the unhealed inner child, trying to make sure that it feels safe. And it becomes this sort of subconscious understood agreement between the two, where you help each other to make each other feel safe. Now, where this runs into problem, by itself, it doesn't seem too bad, right? Doesn't seem too bad at the surface level. But where it starts to go south is when one or both partners, and we're talking specifically they're within the relationship, because this is the example that most people can relate to. There are business partnerships that are codependent, working relationships, friendships, all kinds of relationships that can become and often are codependent. But where this starts to go south is if one or both partners want to evolve themselves and move past these fears, these safety fears, into greater expansion, more creativity, and likely more abundance, financial abundance, which comes from as a result of confronting and moving through your fears. Often there is a lot of times a direct corollary, in fact, between your ability to generate abundance and your ability to move through fear. And where this goes south is if you have these understood agreements with your partner, and you or your partner may be wanting to do something that is risky or creates insecurity in the other partner, that is, work related or friend circle related. And I don't mean, wanting to go out to the bars and party. You're perfectly well within your right to not want a partner who does that. And if you yourself do that, you're well within your right to want a partner that wants to do that with you, albeit that is not necessarily a behavior that's going to move you forward. But for some people, it works, and I'm not going to hate on that. Really, we're talking about people who want to evolve, or an individual person who wants to evolve that is stuck in a codependency. It often becomes up to one person to really start to confront these issues and move forward. Whoever has the more burning desire to move forward, to break out of this fear, to break through these codependent cycles, is often going to have the one to make the tough decisions. And sometimes it's the ultimate decision. You have to separate yourself from the other person. You have to break up. You have to go your separate ways, because it's just the growth that you're seeking, the expansion you're seeking, is not going to happen if you're role playing out codependency. As an example, you may want to start to take business trips, just something as simple as a business trip, but you have a partner who's insecure about you being away from home for a few days at a time. And a lot of people, this might seem silly, but millions of people actually go through things like this. And it creates insecurity. And so if you make the decision to not go on the business trip and maybe even switch jobs to something where you're not traveling, it's possible that it's better for your family life, but it's also possible that you are now actively in a codependency and limiting your ability and your capacity to level yourself up in life. Wanting to feel comforted is another thing. When somebody is trying to manipulate you into taking care of their unhealed, unmet needs, instead of confronting those issues within themselves, they project that unmet need onto you. And it's either you have to be there and comfort them in a certain way, or you have to role play out certain things for them in order for them to feel comforted by you. The extreme end, of course, is the quintessential jealous, alcoholic, abusive husband and wife, codependency. And because even though he is physically and mentally, emotionally abusive to her, because she does feel comforted knowing that he'll always be there, she never leaves him, even no matter how bad the abuse gets. And of course, this is tragic. And, some women do try to escape and they've got a stalker. And I'm not victim blaming anybody who's trying to actively escape a situation like that and fearing for their lives, and has the courage to do it. I'm not victim blaming anybody who is in that and doesn't have the emotional courage to break free either. I'm just saying that it exists. It is the quintessential example. It's the most extreme example because there's physical abuse and often, life endangerment involved in these type of codependencies. But nonetheless, it is a codependency, and it is a role play where two parties agree that I'll do this if you do this. And you can abuse and beat me as long as you provide for me and keep me safe. And again, this isn't victim blaming anybody. It is simply a truth of life that we can fall into anywhere from light to really heavy, dark, extreme codependent relationships if we're not careful. And ultimately, if we bring our unhealed selves into a relationship, which most of us do because we're all working on healing ourselves and bettering ourselves, we can inadvertently fall into a codependency. Speaking for myself, it's been a lifelong work in progress where I work ceaselessly and tirelessly to not have or be codependent, either to bring my own codependencies into a relationship and expect the other party to role play and or tolerate some form of codependency from the partner, because I like having them there, and so therefore I tolerate whatever behavior they're going to bring into the relationship. A big part of this is knowing your own worth, knowing your value, knowing that you are worthy of having what you want. But often we have to be careful. That doesn't mean that you get to do or say or be whatever you want. It means that you need to own first. You own your own work that you have to do. And then, you honor your own boundaries as to what you are and are not willing to accept within your sphere of, your bioenergetic auric sphere of influence. And, the partnership has the most influence over your reality creation and your energy field more than anything else is your partnership. And therefore it is vitally important, to try to work through and eliminate all codependencies so that you can be on the same page. You can both be in the state of expansion, co-creation, and be harmonious in your goals together. So harmonious co-creation becomes the end goal of all life partnerships, in my opinion. A big part of solving this problem is to never leave any stone unturned, never brush anything under the rug. Always be willing to talk it out with your partner, not blame, but to just get it out, whatever issues you may have. Be willing to sit with it. Once a week, sit down and have a talk with your partner. Have an agreement that each week you're going to sit down, and it doesn't have to be a heavy talk, but even if it's just 15 minutes, just say, hey, I'm checking in. Is everything okay with you? I have this issue I'd like to talk to you about, but you go first, what issues, and you could even start if you want to make it more friendly and have more gratitude in it. You can start and say, hey, let's have an agreement where we sit down once a week and we talk for 15 minutes. But we start with 3 things that we're grateful for about the other person. And in that way, you could, avoid hurting feelings and make it more, make it more of a constructive 15, 20-minute talk, if you will. The end goal or result of this is to not be in a relationship or situation with somebody where you need to make them feel some sort of way. But instead to be in a relationship that your mere presence nourishes the other person, and empowers them and bolsters them. That's the end result. And I know I did sort of end up making this about the relationship, but it is the quintessential example. It's the most widely spread, understood relationship, that can become and often is codependent. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this episode. As per always, take good care, and we'll talk to you soon. If this episode resonated with what you're moving through, and you're interested in private spiritual coaching around awakening, emotional integration, shadow work, relationships, boundaries, or building a soul-led life and business, email me directly at rc101coaching@gmail.com with the word coaching in the subject line. You can also find the contact link in the show notes. Follow Awaken Sovereignty for future episodes and share this with someone moving through their own awakening. This is Chris Pinckley. Stay awake, stay aligned, stay sovereign.